I'm Stephanie Rose, Sonlight's Community Manager, and Deana Wood. Thank you, Deana, for joining. Deana is one of our Sonlight ambassadors and homeschool bloggers on Sonlight Blog, and she will be sharing all kinds of great things with us, and we're really excited to have you, Deana. Thanks for joining.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here. So I have been using Sonlight we talked about this. I've been homeschooling. This is my 10th year of homeschooling. And so like we're in the decade mark now. And but I've been using it for 8 years. And so I feel like I've really been in the groove maybe for the last 8 years. But I have 4 children, and they range in age from 14 all the way to, oh goodness, 10. No, 9. I'm sorry. We just had a lot of birthdays, so I was trying to think of how old everybody was. And so we have been a homeschool family for a long time, and we love Sonlight. And that's it. That's all there is to me.
Well, I am so happy that you're here, Deana. How about spelling? What tips do you have if you get to this point in your homeschool and you're like, whoa, she's a little behind on spelling, or she's a little behind on spelling?
Okay, I guess this is my advice for almost every subject, but don't panic, you know, just don't panic. These things are totally normal in education. You're going to have the struggle subjects and you're going to have the whiz through subjects. Every subject's going to have a time when, your child isn't just catching on really quickly. And so don't panic with spelling. So there's a couple of things to remember about spelling. The first thing is to know what's normal. It is totally normal for a young child who is just learning letters and sounds to use what's called inventive spelling. It looks like a chain of letters that make no sense. But when you ask them to read it to you, it makes perfect sense to them. And a lot of the time, you can even kind of pick out where they heard those sounds in there. And as they get older, they'll get better and better at that inventive. When they first start out, my advice is to go with the inventive spelling. Let them have a heyday with that inventive spelling. And if they're open to some help, then I might say, read this to me. And they would read it to me, and I would say something like, I love how you picked out all those sounds in there. And then I would probably say something like, would you mind if I show you how I would spell it? And so then I would write it underneath with the correct spelling. And that way, they still feel the accomplishment of having written something that people can read, but they also saw me model good, proper spelling. So you got to know what's normal. B's and D's are going to get mixed up on until second grade, maybe sometimes third grade. G's and J's are going to be backwards. Don't stress over it. Don't make it a big deal. When you see it, just make them fix it. And so the more you expose them to words and reading, the better they're going to get at spelling. I just feel like reading and spelling just go together. And so I don't put a lot of emphasis on spelling because I read to them all the time. My kids read all the time. And so we just don't have to do a whole lot of that. And so I would say that that is probably the other thing. I'm going to tell you the one thing, though, that kind of gets us sometimes. Some of our children, sweet, sweet children, are just a little lazy. And the best, I know, it's so hard, but it's true. And so if you notice that they're only occasionally making spelling mistakes, or like maybe they're not consistently making that phonetical spelling mistake right there, it's probably a little bit of laziness. Sometimes it can be that they're rushing through and their mind is just working faster than their hand can go. In those cases, what you need to start doing is having them fix it just immediately, as soon as you possibly can. I love what you wrote here. Can you go fix that spelling? Would you go look at that word that you spelled and see if you can spell it differently? And once they know that the standard is that you're going to make them go back and fix that, they're probably going to slow down and be more careful about it. And so as they get older and their mistakes are a little inconsistent, it's probably laziness. And I think one of the best things that you can do is provide immediate feedback. I love immediate feedback. As soon as they do it, tell them, you did this very well. Here's what you can, improve on. Let's fix this before we finish. And that solves all kinds of problems that they might come across, especially in spelling. Because if you let things go, it'll become a habit and they'll learn to do that. It's kind of a learned habit. And so teach them the right way the first time and have them fix it, and then you won't deal with that anymore.
My son likes to use the word discussion, but he spells like S-H-I-N or S-H-U-N at the end, I think is what he spells.
Yes.
And I'm like so proud that he wants to use the word discussion.
Yes.
But I'm like, you're not spelling it right. And I feel like he knows I-O-N. So I always try to correct him. He's a little bit older now. I'm like, that this is what's on the end of that. So
yes,
anyway, very good. Let's talk about handwriting.
Yes. Handwriting. Oh my goodness. Handwriting, I think might become a lost art. I mean, now with technology becoming so prevalent in our society, a lot of the time I think, we just don't have the time, or maybe we just don't have the emphasis on handwriting that we once had. And so a lot of the parents that I talk to are always thinking, the handwriting is atrocious. I don't know what to do. And so for handwriting, here are some of my favorite tips. When you start out with handwriting, so when the child is, anywhere from preschool really to first grade, and, we don't get really stuck on age levels, so just kind of anywhere around that age, I like to use boxes instead of lines. And the reason is because, for one thing, there's a little bit more wiggle room in a box than there is a line. And then they also don't have to think so hard about having 3 places that they need to meet. So you're really just giving them kind of a little perimeter, a little area that they can write that letter. And it really helps them to get a lot of the stress off of letter writing. Handwriting Without Tears, that preschool book, it actually does that. And it's wonderful. I love that first Handwriting Without Tears book because it does let them do the box letters, and it's not overkill, some of them. And so I like to do boxes instead of lines, and then gradually go to a line. And then one of the things that we like to do is we craft all the time. I mean, I just mentioned that we are really artsy, and we love to craft and draw. And I really believe that drawing, while I'm reading aloud, my kids are drawing. They have their sketchbooks and they're drawing. And I think that all that drawing over the years has really built up their fine motor muscles and helped them with their handwriting a lot. Now, they're not perfect yet, but we're getting there. We're working on it. And so all those things that you can do to strengthen the muscles, the tiny muscles in your hand, are wonderful. A lot of the time we want our kids to write things small on a piece of paper or on a line before they're ready. So anytime you introduce a letter, I like to say, write it big, then write it small. And so let them have some time on a whiteboard to draw that letter as big as they want. I mean, just go for it, as big as you can get it. And then slowly kind of make it smaller and smaller to where it would fit on a piece of paper. Some really fun moms, I am not this fun mom, but some really fun moms will let the kids write it in shaving cream on their, on the table or on a cookie sheet or something like that. I don't think we're that crafty around here, but I love to see it when I get to see it. And then I think the other thing is mazes. I don't know if y'all like mazes, but I like mazes, and pencil and tracing through that little maze really helps with that fine motor skill of handwriting. Again, kind of the same as we have in spelling, where we kind of have a laziness factor. There's definitely a laziness factor in handwriting. And so you kind of have to decide if it's a battle, is this a hill that you want to die on, or is this not a battle that you want to pick? And I don't think there's a right answer to that. I think that depends on you and your child. Is it are they going to be able to handle it if I really stand firm on this, or are other things more important? And so if you decide that you want to fight, and behind you 100%, but I say just have them redo it when it's not up to par. Just keep that immediate feedback again. Just keep saying, I think you can probably make it a little bit neater. Try it one more time and let's see if you can do it even better.
Yeah, that's really good advice. My son has fine motor skill issues, and so we're already teaching typing. We sort of skip. I mean, I make him write, but at the same time, typing is a huge thing for him because I don't want him to get bogged down with, not doing things right. So he is learning to type already. So that's a whole nother thing that you could do. Thank you so much, Deana, for joining us.